Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and it's time for another positive spin. Today we're going to be talking about the fourth entry in the Final Destination franchise, the Final Destination 3D. Now, this always seems to come up last on everyone's list. Even on IMDb, it has the lowest score of any of the other Final Destination films. And I've heard a lot of people talk trash about it. As far as my relationship with it, I saw this pretty much around the same time I saw a lot of the other Final Destination movies because this was a franchise that I kind of stayed away from. And when I finally started watching it, probably about, I don't know, 25 years ago or however long it was, I was really kind of irritated at myself for waiting so long to watch these because these are actually really fun movies. It's a slasher movie where death is the slasher, and I think that's a really cool premise. Now, the Final Destination 3D is one I saw last because I thought I saw 5 before I saw 4, although I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I did, though. I saved this one to last because I knew this one got a lot of heat. So let's put a positive spin on the Final Destination 3D. Now, I watched this in 2D, but I'm smart enough to figure out that a lot of the effects were meant to be seen in 3D. So it still gives that kind of, it still feels the same, although you just can't see it coming right at you. All right, I like that it gets right into the action because this is the one, of course, about the stock car race. I want to say NASCAR, but I don't think they could use NASCAR in the film, so I just I'll just call it a stock car race. The characters are mostly likable. Even the pretty boy, I think I called him a Backstreet Boy reject, but even he was fairly likable, even though he was pretty conceited. I love how the accident is set up, and that's when the main character Nick is looking back, or he's having like a daydream, and he's seeing this accident happen before it actually does. And I think it's set up really, it's very clever. The realization is cool when he tries to save his friends. I always think that that's a really cool part in the Final Destination franchise. That's a typical thing that happens. They start to figure out that they're dying in the order, of course, that they died in the original accident, which didn't actually happen because he had a premonition. He was able to save a majority of his friends. The opening sequence with all the deaths is a lot of fun. Now, as I was saying to Joe, I kind of understand why this is maybe a lot of people's least favorite because some of the kills in the beginning look kind of fake. But with that being said, I do think they look kind of cool and they were meant to be a 3D experience. So I think seeing it in 2D, you kind of lack a little bit of the pop that happens in 3D. The racist guy's death is incredibly funny and, of course, ironic because he's going to set a burning cross on this black guy's house who was actually part of the accident as well. And he ends up getting his just desserts, I guess, is what they would call it. Some of the deaths are silly in this, but for some reason it works because they kind of establish that from the beginning. Like I said, when the race is going on, some of the deaths look kind of fake. And I know that they're done for the benefit of 3D, but it kind of continues throughout the story where some of the deaths just look a little bit silly. But it's always clever the way they plan these, I think. The runtime is the shortest one because with the credits and all, I think it's an hour and 21 minutes. Before the credits, it's like an hour and 16 minutes. So it's the shortest Final Destination movie so far. And I think that helps with the pacing because, like I said in the beginning of this video, the beginning of the film, it gets right into the action. It doesn't mess around at all. And I like that. And it makes the movie fly by a lot quicker. Of course, the kills are incredibly creative, and that's one of the things you kind of come to expect from the Final Destination movies. Um, Part of the opening sequence, well, I'll get to that in a little bit. I love the mall scenes. I've always been a fan of mall movies or mall and horror films, as well as carnivals and snow and stuff like that. So the mall scenes really worked for me. And this is going to be about the opening sequence and the end. They did this really cool thing with x-rays in the beginning where as they're doing the credits, they show a lot of the scenes from the other Final Destination films. And I thought that was really cool that they did that, but they showed it in x-ray form. And they kind of did the same thing at the end. Well, they did do the same thing at the end when, I don't want to spoil it, but in case you haven't seen it, but with the few people who are left, they do show some x-ray scenes. So it's really cool. All in all, I think this movie's fun. It is not my favorite in the Final Destination franchise. I'm not really sure if it's my least favorite or not. Joe and I were trying to figure that out as we were talking. I know that 5 is his favorite, 2 has always been my favorite, but I'm not really sure where this really falls in the entire franchise. I'd have to go back and rewatch them. But that is my positive spin on the Final Destination 3D. What did you guys think? Don't forget to check out Joe's positive spin for the Final Destination 3D. And if you like what you see in here, hit that like button and subscribe. And until next time, peace.